What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of MMA DFS for Beginners. I am your host, Jesse, aka He Hate Me, on DraftKings, on the DraftKings streets. And let's get this rolling. So, took a week off last week due to no fights. Was last weekend Thanksgiving? It was Thanksgiving. No fights last weekend. And this week we have a fight, which is going to be a pretty good fight. Pretty good card. Not only good fight, but card. I should pull that up. UFC. Don't look at my history. No, that's UFC Strike. Come on, what the hell? That's dead. That is down. UFC Strike. Well, the whole space seems to be dying, right? The whole crypto space. Yeah, Thompson and Holland. We have Barberena and Dos Anjos. It's kind of a weird fight, I guess. Barberena's on a win streak, and they're throwing them to the wolves, kind of, with the Dos Anjos. Tuivasa and Pavlovich, huge fight. So, pretty big fight all around. I believe it's a Fox fight. I think that's why it's pretty decent. I don't think it's a generic fight night. Or it is. Okay, anyways, good fight. I'm not looking into it too much. It's great card, considering it's not a pay-per-view. They've been giving us a bunch of crappy non-pay-per-view cards. So excited for that. Excited for that card upcoming. Update on the road to 500, that 500 challenge. Remember, once we get to 500, all that 500 goes to one lucky winner. All you gotta do is be a subscriber to my little channel as of now. Let's grow this thing, and let's grow this to 500 as we grow the channel. So not doing too great at all. Last week lost $4, risked $10. I played GPPs mostly, and not too bad, considering I did not switch the Lewis and Spivak fight was canceled, right? Which sucks because this rarely happens. The fights get canceled. Any fight gets canceled after the fight card starts. It rarely happens. That's why they did this late swap thing, which rarely happens. And I know a lot of people aren't too excited, including me, about the late swap. And I was hoping that they would change it, but lucky us. I mean, if lucky you if you're for it. I mean, if you're against it, lucky us. We the first fight they introduced this into. There's a late scratch, and so I think that pretty much cemented this late swap thingamajig. But it's all good. We're gonna just learn how to play with it, and learn how to work around it, which I had some ideas. I'm probably going to forget it, so I'm going to say it right now. The whole late swap thing, people complain because they're like, dude, I don't want to be in 6 hours in front of my TV or in front of my computer. Because I personally watch all the fights, especially when you have skin in the game with the DFS. I think watching all the fights are cool, but I watched the rerun of all the fights, right? So you can fast forward the commercials, you can fast forward the low blows, all the downtime you can fast forward, and it isn't too long. I would say 2-3 hours max. I haven't really tracked the time, but I'll watch it like in segments. I'll watch like half of it, Saturday night, and then the other half like Sunday morning or something like that. But now we're going to have to watch it live. We're live. We're going to have to watch it live to keep up with the late swaps. And what I was considering, well, first of all, I have to change my work schedule. I'm on top of that. I work on Saturday, so that's why I couldn't do this late swap, and it bit me in the ass on this one because I didn't have the only two lineups that won me. It took me as a prize, like fucking fair. The only two lineups that won were that I cashed in. They didn't have Spivak or Lewis. Those were the only two ones. So that's kind of a good sign. All my other lineups had Spivak, Lewis, or I think both, even though it was all GP. All this double up. My cash game tanked because I stacked the main event. So not, I mean, it's expected, it's a blunder on my part. I wasn't able to keep up with it because I was working, and I was not able to take advantage of that. Anyways, I'm gonna change my work schedule personally so I can be watching it live and do the late swaps. But going back to what I would suggest, I'm thinking like, what the hell am I gonna do? I really don't want to be in front of the TV for like 5-6 hours. It's ridiculous how much time the event unfolds. It's a lot of it's downtime, and you can't fast forward, unfortunately, because you have to watch it live. So I'm treating Saturdays as like my what do you call it, maintenance house cleaning day. Like, I it's an excuse to clean my apartment, I guess. I'll clean it randomly. I rarely clean it. That's why it's always a fucking mess. But I'll clean it like I have somebody coming over or something. I'll clean it up real quick. Not even really clean, just sweep shit under the rug type of cleaning. But I guess I could clean on a Saturday while I'm watching the fights, downtime. You can wash dishes, do my clothes, meal prep, work out. I recommend you guys all to have a home gym. You don't have to have equipment. You could do push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, a bar, those hallway bars. So you work out. There's many things you could do at home. You don't just could be sitting there watching 5-6 hours of UFC, most of it being downtime. So I'm gonna take that time to do what would you call it, housekeeping work, right, / working out. I'll do a little workout here. What else can you do? I don't know, maybe read. I don't know, can you read while you're watching the fights? I don't know, you could always be doing things. You don't have to just be watching the fights, the downtime. So I'm gonna take the opportunity to block in that time to do my laundry, to do a meal prep, like as much of things that I need to be home to do, stuff them all into that Saturday. And of course, if you have a life, a wife or kids, I imagine that's way harder. Thankfully, not thankful. For this purpose, thankfully, I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. I'm pretty much by myself here, forever alone. So it's not too bad for me. But for others, I can imagine it could be a little more trickier. So that's what you get for having kids. No, I'm kidding. I think having kids is great. So yeah, just make the most of it. Work around it. If there's a will, there's a way, as the saying goes. If there's a will, there's a way. Because I know the backlash of this, what people will complain about, and what I complained about too, was like, shit, dude, I don't want to be in front of my computer, in front of my TV for 6-7 hours. Thought I saw a ghost. It's pretty dark in here. Kind of scared. Yeah. So just figure out a way to do this without being in front of the TV for 7 hours doing nothing. You always could be doing something. Always could be, if you're in school, maybe do some half-ass homework. I don't know. You could always be doing something. So anyways, let's get to this. Lost $4, not too bad considering my most of my lineups had a fighter from the fight that got canceled. So I got a big old donut. So that's what happens. That's what happens. Moving on to this week's fight card, the Thompson and Holland. I was looking at the numbers, right? The odds. This is the first thing I look at is the odds, and this makes me decide whether I'm gonna play go heavy on the cash or the GPP games. And this fight card, it looks like I'm gonna do cash, because we have a 15 fight card. And the rule for me is any fight that's 2-1 favorite and above. To me, those are good favorites for cash games. Those when you're playing cash games, you're going for win equity. Remember, you're going for win equity. You're trying to. The game is generally for cash games. The game is, out of the 6 fighters that you pick, you want to pick 4 winners. Generally, 4 winners does the trick for cash games. Generally, of course, there's always exceptions. So in this fight card, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm gonna count Levy as one because he's right there at the borderline. 8, and I also put Hermanson in there because he's basically there. He's 11 points off, 65.4%. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 fights out of the 15 are 2-1 favorites. So those are pretty good win equity favorites. And these fights, typically the dogs aren't really alive here. I mean, of course, it's MMA, anything can happen, but according to the odds, the favorites are generally safe. And on top of that, the main event, which I always stack for the cash games, they're not part, the Holland and Thompson, they're not part of those 2-1 favorites. If you could see what I'm talking about, because sometimes the favorite of the main event will be part of this group, which kind of takes away from this group, but he's not. Holland's a less than a 2-1 favorite. So you don't really care who wins in the main event because you're going for 2 of them. You actually want them to be a closer fight because you're gonna get a winner and you want the loser to score pretty high too, which for a loser they generally score pretty high as the main event. If it drags on, if it goes all 5 rounds and you utilize the extra 2 rounds, you know, for the main event you get 5 rounds, and utilizing those extra 2 rounds to accumulate points is a good thing. Okay, so I don't know where that came from. I got possessed by a demon. So yeah, I'm gonna go cash with this, and I'm not gonna be able to employ this strategy because I unfortunately do have to work this Saturday. But hopefully, beginning with the the Ankalov and Blakovic fight, hopefully then I can start getting those Saturdays off. Have to move some my schedule around a bit, have to shuffle it up a bit. But yeah, so the strategy here for cash games with late swap is something like this. I was looking at it, and I feel like it'll be something like this. It's the same idea. If you have a fighter that loses, you're gonna start shooting for win equity. As same thing with GPP. Once one of your fighter loses, you're just trying to cash. You're trying to min cash, and so you go for win equity no matter how chalky they are. So cash games, same thing. So for example, I crunched a couple of lineups. So just for the sake of example, I'm going to use this lineup I crunched. I have Yasmin, Pavlovich, Levy, Holland, Thompson, and Barberina. So the structure is 4 2-1 favorites or higher. I mean, 3 2-1 favorites or higher. So in this case, we have Levy, Pavlovich, and Yasmin. Those are 2-1 favorites or higher. We have the stack, the main event, and then a punt. Then we have a punt as the last one. Because we're looking for 4 winners and then 2 losers generally, right? The main event, either one could win, doesn't matter. But we have a punt. We expect them to lose, but we expect these 3 fighters to win. So in this case, and again with late swap, the order of the fights matter now. So if you have Yasmin, that's pretty good because she's the first fight in the card. So say, we have this lineup, right? And say Yasmin loses, and you're like, shit, she's not supposed to lose because now I have Yasmin losing. I'm gonna have a loser from the main event, and Barberina is my punt play. You're relying on Barberina to win, and that's not a good thing to rely on Barberina to win for you to cash out. So say you have Yasmin and she loses, and you're just like, shit, like that throws out my whole plan. So now you have to shuffle up. You have to shuffle up and keep Yasmin. I'm gonna use this as an example. So keep you have to keep her because you have no choice. So say Yasmin goofed up and she lost. Upset. She got KO'd by Nunes, right? Or decision win, but KO'd just for the dramatic effect. So you keep the main event. I mean, you keep the stack. I'll go into that later, why you keep the stack. You keep the stack, and now you'll be like, shit, now I want 3 favorites or closest to favorites, 3 win. I don't want a punt play here. No more punt plays because now you're just like, damn, I need 3 winners. Because Yasmin's your punt, basically, even though she's your unintended punt. That's what Yasmin turned into. So you go, okay, 3 fighters. What my salary is? 8,166, right? So you're looking at this mid area. And it depends what they give you, right? It depends what they give you. Looking at the odds, you know me. I said in the past with I even bowled them with women's fights and heavyweights. I like to go for the underdogs there because those are more volatile fights, in my opinion. The women fights and heavyweights. So every time they're in there, I see volatility. So looking at this right in the middle, I see 2 women under. They're not even really underdogs. They're basically toss-ups. Hill and Cortez. Looking at the odds, Hill and Cortez, right, 52%. Cortez not even right. 52-49 coin toss. So these are the fights you're gonna start targeting. 3 of these fighters here instead of Barberina and then heavy favorites. Instead of like this barbell type structure, instead of going here and here, you're gonna go here, right? You're trying to go for the safe. You're always looking for safety. Safety. What's the right word? Non-volatile. The opposite of volatility, right? Safety. Confidence, or I don't know what I'm looking for, man. So 8,166. So maybe a court. So first of all, I mean, I wouldn't want the favorites of the women fighters. So Ducati, I wouldn't want to get her. I would probably start at Price, Nico Price, and Holtzman. Right. Let's look at the odds. Nico Price at 58%, right, and Holtzman at 63. I'm just seeing if there's any value here. No, they're all priced pretty accurately. I mean, I guess Hermansen's a value, right, because he's supposed to be above Marshall, but it's not that much of a value. So Holtzman, Price, we'll go Holtzman, Price, and what does that leave us with? 7,500, and then maybe Dolodzi, right? So Price, Holtzman, and Dolodzi. Actually, looking at it, yeah, I guess we go that. We go Dolodzi, Holtzman, and Price. You do something like that, right? Dolodzi's your only underdog, right? You go from Barberina, who's at a 19.8% equity, to Dolodzi, which is at 39%. I mean, of course, you drop down up here to down here too, but you don't care how much how good you don't care how badly they win or how goodly they win. You just want them to win. You just want those W's. Of course, you want like knockouts and higher points, but you're mostly looking for W's on the fights. So you want to get rid of the Barberina. So you go here. And then say, you're going along and you're just like, shit. You're like, Nico Price loses, right? Say Nico Price loses. Let's make this super realistic. Let's go by the order of the fights. So we have, who do we have? We have, right, because the order of the fights is also going to influence your decision. So you have Price and Holtzman, right? Price and Holtzman. And who else was it? Dolodzi? Maybe even going down to Rojo, right? Because he's the next fight, right? That's gonna have to be a call. Maybe even giving up a little bit of win equity to get that what do you call it? Fight order equity. Is that a new thing we're inventing? Maybe to see if Rojo, because if Rojo loses, then you have to shuffle things up again. But see, now we're going deep into it. This is the type of games you can start playing. But say let's just keep it at Dolodzi. Let's keep it simple. So say you're chugging along, and then bam, what's the next fight you have up? You have the Holtzman fight. And say Holtzman loses. So now you have 2 losers. You have Jasmine and Holtzman losing. And you're just like, shit, well, there goes my losses. Now everybody else has to win. So your main event has to be non-stacked. So you're just like, And then you have less fighters to choose from. See, that's going to get tricky. So Holtzman's the ninth fighter, and again, this is just an example, well, just off the top of my dome. So you're at Holtzman, right? You have Ducati, but see the way it's structured is this is probably gonna be locked, and then this is probably gonna be locked too. But let's just keep this. Uh, so we have to choose from these fights, right? So now we have Yasmin, we have Holtzman, two losers, and we're like, shit, now we're going to have to reshuffle. Now you have to split up the stack on the main event because you've already given up all your losses. So this is what it comes down to. And you probably play with it, keep hauling. Let's see if we keep the frame one we could keep with. So looking at this, I'm looking for volatility and likely volatility for an upset. So I'm looking at Tai Tuivasa. I'm looking at Estela Nunes. I really like Tai Tuivasa. Really, not just a fan of him, but he has that, as we all know, that knockout one punch KO power. So very volatile fight, by the way. So we'll go Tuivasa. I'd go Tuivasa, going for that volatility, that upset volatility. And now we have 8,200 to spend, and just let's keep it safe. Let's go to we'll probably go Nico Price, and then keep it to Delodzi, right? Does that look good? Yeah, I mean that's a lineup, right? Now we're hoping that Holland, Tuivasa, Price, and Delodzi wins. It's just giving us more outs. The more your fighter loses, the more you rack up losses, the odds come down. But you just want to still, you want to give yourself more outs. You know what I mean? Instead of just being at a donut, being like you have no chance of winning this because you're gonna have more than 2 losses on your build and your lineup. You're just giving yourself more outs. You can even, like, all right, say maybe not Holland, you're going for the upset with Thompson. We'll go who was it that saying Holtzman lost, right? So Nico Price. I'll keep Tuivasa. Now let's see what we can build with this. 8,600. See, there's a little more we could play around with. Maybe Nico Price and Hermanson. Price and Hermanson. Thompson, Price, and Hermanson. Right? So Thompson, Price, and Hermanson, or Holland, Price, and Delodzi. You know what I mean? What underdog do you want to pick? So that'll be the decision you got to make. You want the main event underdog or the Delodzi and Hermanson underdog? That's just an example of giving yourself, what is that, 1 out. If your fighter loses, you get rid of your punt. That's 1 out. If another fighter loses, you get rid of your main event, 2 outs. So you're giving yourself 2 outs here. You're giving yourself 2 outs to keep that 4 winning lineup, which is not a bad strategy looking at it. And I unfortunately, I can't employ that because I'm working and I can't keep up with it. Maybe the Yasmin, because she's the first fight. I'll probably go heavy with the Yasmin. I'll probably just build 3 to 5 lineups, all with Yasmin, and then just that. Like if she loses, watch that fight or see the results of that fight, and if she loses, plan accordingly. Or if she wins, just leave it at that. Cash in that one winner. But yeah, that's what I gotta say for cash games with the late swap. Soon I'll start employing what I just said, that strategy. Once I get those Saturdays off, and I get to clean Saturday cleaning and DFS Saturday. Make it like a day out of it. Maybe order some pizza. Have some friends over. If you're into this, I imagine you have friends that are into this too. I have friends that are into it, so maybe have them over. Order some pizza. They're probably not gonna be here for the whole the prelims. They're probably like, why the fuck are you watching the prelims, dude? They're gonna be like, you don't understand, man. You just don't understand. For the main event, probably call up some friends so you won't be so lonely. Uh, but yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Shorter video. I just want to talk a little bit about the late swap, because this is all experimental too. By the way, like we're all trying to figure this out. I've been listening to podcasts, getting like information off of other people too. This one, um, I'm yet to find a way to use late swap to get leverage on people, right? I'm looking at late swap more for um, salvaging, right? Salvaging lineups. But I know there's a way to use it to gain more leverage, because you are getting more information as the fight card unfolds, and you could use that information to get more leverage against your opponents. That's like the more in the game theory area. But so far, I'm gonna be using late swap just to salvage lineups if things don't go according to plan. More like an audible. Go to this, go to this plan B, plan C, and then if plan C doesn't work, you're fucked. You lose. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. I'll catch you guys on the next episode. See the results on this one. Again, going cash. Most likely, I'm 90% sure I'm gonna go cash lineups on this. Heavy on the cash. Probably throw 1 or 2 GPPs in there, but for the most part, cash games. And let's see how this works out. I'll catch you guys on the next episode.